So guys, we have some massive breaking news. It's so massive that I'm recording, even as I'm clearly losing my voice. But we have to talk about how Elizabeth Warren is dropping out of the race for president. We don't yet know what she's going to do. She hasn't even really officially announced it. It sort of just broke through the New York Times and other sources. Will she endorse Biden? Will she endorse Bernie? Will she endorse anyone at all? We don't know yet. But what I do know is that she should 100% endorse Bernie Sanders and join his broad and diverse working class movement. There's no other rational choice for Elizabeth Warren, because while there's been a lot of tension between Bernie and Warren and between the Bernie and Warren camps, especially in the last couple of months, those tensions don't override the fact that on many key policy issues, Warren and Bernie agree much more than they disagree, and they agree with one another much more than they agree with Joe Biden and the centrist blob that's formed around Joe Biden. So Bernie Sanders last night on Rachel Maddow made this very exact point, and I want to play you that clip.
But in terms of Senator Warren, what I will tell you is that on major issue after major issue, we may have nuances of differences, but she is an advocate of Medicare for all, which obviously I strongly support. She wants to raise that minimum wage to a living wage of $15 an hour. She wants to cancel student debt. You know, we have a nuance of difference in that, but essentially she has run her campaign in the way that we have, taking on powerful corporate interest and representing working families in this country, something that is long overdue.
So what you hear there is Bernie Sanders making the case to Rachel Maddow and the MSNBC audience that on things like Medicare for all, $15 minimum wage, fighting student debt, taxing the rich, building a campaign that roots out corruption and roots out unearned privilege, Warren and Bernie actually work well together. They have differences. Bernie wants to move to Medicare for all in a more strident manner. Bernie Sanders believes in full cancellation of student debt. Warren only believes in partial cancellation. But nonetheless, they agree on policies that almost no one else in the field, no one like Buttigieg or Klobuchar or Biden or anyone else has agreed upon. And when you factor all of that in, Elizabeth Warren needs to realize, and her team needs to realize, that if they don't get with Bernie Sanders, they're basically repudiating 95% of what they've been running on since late 2018, because Warren was one of the first people to jump in. She's been running for well over a year on a platform of progressive policy. Sometimes she hasn't been as firm as she needs to be, but she's always been running as something of a progressive. And if she backs Bernie, she can make the case that, slight disagreements aside, Bernie is the best person remaining to carry forward the Elizabeth Warren vision. And that Warren can make the case that in working with Bernie, she can bring some of her pragmatism. She can bring some of her ability to plan to Bernie's passion. That you can sort of combine the two and build a stronger front to challenge the neoliberal status quo as it manifests in Biden, but also in Donald Trump. And I think that would be a very potent message in convincing those few people that haven't made a decision yet to jump with the progressive wing of the party. That it's Bernie, yes, but it's Bernie with what Warren brings, the skills, the connections, the talent she has. And I think it's also important to realize that if Elizabeth Warren's supporters want the policies Warren ran on, you're only really going to get them if Bernie becomes president. Of course, if you're a Warren supporter, you wanted Warren to be president, but that's not on the table anymore. So when you want to raise the minimum wage to $15, and you want a national child care program, and when you want to have Medicare for all, and when you want a wealth tax, if you want to tax the wealthiest people on their wealth, if you want any of these things and many, 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 many more things helping working class people join unions, the person that's going to help Warren implement this vision is Bernie Sanders. And while you might say that Joe Biden would make sure to include Elizabeth Warren in his team, Elizabeth Warren in a Biden administration would never be a mainline voice. She would always be sidelined as the left-wing token person. Biden would include her to pretend that he gives a damn about what progressives think, but you know in your heart he won't ever really listen to Warren. If Bernie Sanders becomes president, Elizabeth Warren would play a crucial role, maybe the biggest role of all, in Bernie's administration. So if you feel that they can work together, Bernie Sanders is the person to pick. If you feel that Warren will bring a bit more pragmatism and planning and detail to Bernie's plans, then Bernie's the one to pick, because Warren will be 100% trusted by Bernie Sanders. Guys, I can't go on too much longer because of my voice and because we're speculating right now, but I just want to reiterate the fact that Elizabeth Warren was a good candidate. She wasn't the best candidate. I think Bernie's the best, but she was a good candidate, and she can make an immense contribution to the future of the United States and of world progressivism, but only if in this crucial moment she endorses Bernie Sanders and she tries to merge their two movements. If they work together as they have before, nothing will stop them. We remember those early debates, guys, when everyone wanted Warren and Bernie to fight. But when they stood together, they wrecked the rest of the field. They destroyed Biden and Buttigieg and all the neoliberals. They can do that again together, and they can win the presidency in the process.